The warning. Professor Nixval adjusted the crystalline interface of her presentation device, her iridescent scales shifting with nervous energy as she prepared to address the Galactic Council. The vast chamber of the stellar Concordat stretched before her, its bioluminescent architecture housing representatives from over 500 spacefaring civilizations. Esteemed members of the Council, she began, her translator converting her harmonic tones into standard galactic common. As chief xenoanthropologist of the research vessel Eternal Seeker, I come before you with troubling findings about the recently discovered human species. The chamber's ambient lighting dimmed as she activated the first hologram. Earth's blue sphere rotated slowly, overlaid with data streams collected over the past standard year. Behind her, junior researcher Trilgen watched from the observation ring, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with concern. Our observation platforms have documented deeply concerning behavioral patterns. Nixval continued, manipulating the controls to zoom in on various urban centers. Humans exhibit extreme individualistic tendencies, frequently defying established authority and acting on emotional impulses rather than logical imperatives. Murmurs rippled through the assembled representatives. The crystalline quantum minds of the Arcturus collective flickered with frequencies indicating distress, while the gaseous nebula-born shifted their cloud formations to patterns of concern. Observe this typical human interaction. Nixval displayed carefully selected scenes from human historical archives. Time and again, they demonstrate a concerning focus on individual gain over collective benefit. In the observation ring, Trilgen's markings pulsed faster. She had spent the past cycle studying human behavior patterns, and her data told a very different story. She had witnessed humans forming vast support networks during natural disasters, sharing resources without expectation of return, and risking their lives to save complete strangers. Based on our comprehensive analysis, Nixval proclaimed, I must recommend that the Council carefully restrict human integration into galactic society. Their unpredictable nature and resistance to structured authority make them potentially disruptive to our carefully balanced civilization. The Council's chief administrator, a towering quantum mind named Valith, materialized closer to the presentation area. Your reputation for thorough research is well known, Professor. Have you analyzed how humans might react to galactic-scale crises? Indeed, Nixval projected new data streams. Our models suggest humans would either ignore distress calls from non-human species or attempt to exploit such situations for personal gain. Their entertainment media frequently depicts scenarios of conflict with alien species, suggesting deep-seated xenophobic tendencies. Trilgen's appendages tightened around her personal data core. Inside were thousands of recordings that told a different story. Humans delivering supplies to elderly neighbors during global pandemics, emergency services working tirelessly during disasters, and international relief efforts coordinating to help regions in crisis. The council chambers erupted in discussion. Nixval stood proudly, knowing her warning about humanity would be remembered for generations. As the session concluded, Trilgen slipped away from the observation ring, her mind racing. She had to find a way to share her contradicting evidence, but who would believe a junior researcher over the renowned Professor Nixval? Little did any of them know, events were already in motion that would prove just how wrong they were about humanity's true nature. As Trilgen made her way back to her research station, a distress signal was about to put humanity to the ultimate test, and their response would shake the foundations of the galaxy's understanding of this young species. Crisis beyond the stars. First Medical Officer Renvora pressed her crystalline manipulators against the emergency control panel of the medical transport Starlight Healer. All three of her sensor arrays fixed on the rapidly declining quantum core readings. The Aetherian vessel shuddered around her, its pristine silver corridors now pulsing with the deep crimson of emergency lighting. Core stability at 23% and falling, announced Chief Engineer Kaz Rin, his metallic exoskeleton vibrating with tension. The containment field is deteriorating faster than predicted. In the cargo hold behind them, 2 million doses of nebula plague antidote were slowly warming above their crucial storage temperature. The colony on Nova Centauri had already reported over 50,000 cases, with the infection rate doubling every planetary rotation. "What about the quantum mind outpost?" Rin Vora asked, her crystalline structure refracting light in patterns of increasing anxiety. Communications Officer Evelyn swiveled in her gravity suspension pod, her energy form flickering with uncertainty. "They're responding, but..." She paused, her energy matrix contracting. "They're strongly advising us to avoid human space." They cite Professor Nixval's recent presentation to the Council. According to their analysis, humans would likely either ignore our distress call or attempt to salvage our ship for parts. Another violent tremor ran through the ship. For a moment, the artificial gravity wavered, causing loose objects to float momentarily before crashing back down. "Core stability at 19%, Kazrin reported grimly. "We have perhaps 20 minutes before total failure. Without the quantum core, we'll lose stasis field control over the antidote. The entire cargo will be rendered useless within hours." Rin Vora's crystal matrix ran probability calculations while her consciousness weighed the options. The nearest non-human assistance was at least 6 hours away. By then, both their ship and their precious cargo would be lost. Officer Ithlin. Rin Vora's crystal structure pulsed with determination. "Broadcast an emergency signal on all frequencies, including human channels." First Medical Officer. Ithlin's energy form flickered with concern. The Council's warning about humans was quite explicit. "The Council's warnings won't matter if we're dead and millions die from the nebula plague." Rin Vora cut in, her crystal structure emitting frequencies of unmistakable authority. "Send the signal." The next few minutes felt like an eternity. The core continued its descent toward critical failure, and Rin Vora found herself wondering if Professor Nixval had been right. Perhaps humans would simply... Multiple contacts. Ithlin's energy form suddenly flared bright with surprise. 5 vessels just dropped out of FTL travel. They're human ships. The main viewing field activated, showing vessels of varying sizes. Their designs were unlike anything in the galactic registry. Less elegant than Aetherian ships, more functional than aesthetic, with exposed hardware and practical configurations that would make any quantum mind architect recoil in horror. "This is Commander Marcus Rivera of the Earth Emergency Response Vessel Swift Justice." A voice came through in perfect galactic common. "We've detected your quantum core destabilization. We've dealt with similar systems before and are ready to assist. Please share your shield frequencies." Before Rin Vora could respond, more transmissions arrived. "Engineering Vessel Prometheus here. We've got experimental quantum stabilizers if you need them. Medical Transport Aurora standing by. We can help with any biological cargo requiring stasis field maintenance. Research Vessel Curiosity calling. Our quantum physicists are analyzing your core readings now. Mining Vessel Deep Space Pioneer here. We've got heavy-duty towing capabilities if needed." Rin Vora's crystal structure vibrated with disbelief. Not only had humans answered their call, but 5 separate vessels had diverted their courses to help. None had mentioned payment, salvage rights, or any form of compensation. "Core at 15%, Kazrin called out, his exoskeleton now vibrating at a frequency indicating severe stress. "We need to decide now." Rin Vora took one last look at the Council's warning flashing on her secondary display, then reached out to open a channel to the human vessels. "This is First Medical Officer Rin Vora of the Aetherian Transport Starlight Healer. We gratefully accept your assistance. Be advised we're carrying critical medical supplies that must reach Nova Centauri within 50 standard hours." "Understood, Starlight Healer." Commander Rivera responded without hesitation. "Let's get you stabilized and back on course. Those people need their medicine." As the human ships moved into position around them, Rin Vora couldn't help but wonder what other misconceptions the Council might have about humanity. The next few hours would not only determine the fate of their mission, but might just reshape the galaxy's understanding of their newest spacefaring neighbors. Innovation under pressure. Commander Marcus Rivera kept his voice steady as he coordinated the rescue operation, but his mind was racing through a dozen contingency plans. The Aetherian ship's quantum core readings were worse than anything he'd encountered in his 15 years of emergency response. On the Swift Justice's main display, the Starlight Healer hung against the backdrop of space, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in ways that made Earth's most advanced ships look primitive by comparison. But right now, that beautiful hull contained a disaster waiting to happen. Engineering team ready for transfer. His chief engineer, Dr. Isabella Reyes, reported through the ship's comm. She had already suited up with her team, their modified EVA suits specifically designed for working with alien technology. But Commander, these readings, we've never dealt with an Aetherian quantum core before. Then today we learned something new, Marcus replied, managing a grim smile despite the tension. The Prometheus's stabilizers will buy us time to figure it out. The engineering vessel Prometheus had already moved into position, its bulky frame a stark contrast to the elegant Aetherian ship. Its captain, Yuki Tanaka, kept a running commentary as her crew prepared their experimental quantum stabilizers. These prototypes weren't exactly designed for this, Tanaka transmitted, but the underlying principles should work. We've been studying quantum field theory for decades. Time to put that research to practical use. On the research vessel Curiosity, Dr. Raj Patel and his team were rapidly comparing the Aetherian core specifications with known quantum technologies. Commander Rivera, we've analyzed their containment field structure. It's based on crystalline resonance patterns, similar to what we discovered in those ruins on Europa. We're sending you the modification protocols now. Marcus watched as his crew coordinated with the other ships without hesitation. No one had questioned diverting from their original missions. The Swift Justice was supposed to be heading to the Proxima colonies for an emergency drill. The Curiosity had been in the middle of a breakthrough in quantum physics research. The mining vessel Deep Space Pioneer had a shipment of rare minerals due at Earth's orbital refineries. None of that mattered now. Beginning stabilizer deployment, Tanaka reported. The Prometheus extended its specialized equipment toward the Starlight Healer, the experimental devices looking almost crude next to the alien vessel's refined architecture. Medical transport Aurora, standing by with stasis field generators. Captain Hannah Ortiz transmitted, "If the antidote storage fails, we can transfer it to our containment units. They're not as sophisticated as Aetherian technology, but they'll hold." On the Swift Justice's bridge, Marcus received a priority message from Earth Command. He already knew what it would say. A reminder about non-interference protocols, about the risks of sharing human technology with advanced species, about the potential diplomatic complications. He deleted it without reading it. Engineering team transferring now, Isabella reported. The airlock camera showed her team crossing to the Aetherian vessel, carrying tools and equipment that represented the best of human ingenuity. Technology cobbled together from 100 different breakthroughs, modified, and reimagined for new purposes. First Medical Officer Renvora's voice came through, her translator conveying a mix of hope and anxiety. The core is at 12%. The antidote stasis field is beginning to fluctuate. Understood, Marcus responded. He opened a channel to all 5 human ships. Listen up, everyone. There are 50,000 people counting on that antidote, with more getting sick every hour. Failure isn't an option. The next 30 minutes were a blur of activity. The Prometheus's crew installed their quantum stabilizers while Isabella's team, guided by Dr. Patel's analysis, worked to modify the containment field. The Aetherians watched in fascination as the humans improvised solutions that would probably give their engineers crystalline structure shock. Core stabilizing, Kazran announced, his metallic voice carrying clear signs of relief. Up to 35%, 42%. The stabilizers are holding, Tanaka confirmed, but they're not a permanent solution. You'll need a proper space dock for full repairs. Marcus had already been calculating travel times and distances. The Swift Justice was the fastest of the human ships, equipped with the latest drive systems for emergency response. But as he opened his mouth to offer escort service to Nova Centauri, his first officer, Lieutenant Diana Wright, interrupted quietly. "Sir, the crew's families. The Harvest Festival." Marcus glanced around his bridge. They'd already missed 3 planet-side holidays this year. The Harvest Festival was the biggest celebration in the North American Union, and they'd been promised leave time. But as he met each crew member's eyes, he saw the same determination he felt. First Medical Officer Rinvora, he transmitted, "The Swift Justice will escort you to Nova Centauri. Our quantum engineers will monitor your core stability throughout the journey. With your permission, we'd like to study your systems more thoroughly en route. Might help us handle similar emergencies in the future." There was a pause, and when Rinvora responded, her translator couldn't quite mask the emotion in her crystalline harmonics. "Thank you, Commander. Your assistance, it defies everything we were told about humans." Marcus smiled. "We get that a lot. Prometheus, can you spare 2 engineers for the journey? Aurora, we could use a backup stasis unit just in case. Pioneer, would you mind escorting the others back to their original coordinates?" The responses came immediately. No hesitation, no questions, just immediate agreement and offers of additional help. As the ships began coordinating their new assignments, Marcus couldn't help but think about Professor Nixval's warning to the Galactic Council. She had been right about one thing: humans didn't always follow protocol. Sometimes they ignored carefully structured procedures. And yes, they often acted on emotion rather than pure logic. But she had missed something crucial about those emotions, something that junior researcher Trilgen had noticed in her studies. When others were in need, human emotions drove them not toward exploitation, but toward helping at any cost. The Starlight Healer was about to spread far more than just an antidote through the galaxy. It was about to spread a truth that would change everything. Ripples through the cosmos. Junior researcher Trilgen stood before her data terminal in the Stellar Concordats research wing, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with excitement as she reviewed the incoming reports. News of the Starlight Healer incident was spreading through the galaxy faster than light itself. The emergency quantum core stabilization hadn't just saved a single ship and its precious cargo. It had sparked a chain reaction of revelations about humanity that was shaking the foundations of galactic society. "Display update," she commanded, and her terminal projected the latest statistics. The Nova Centauri colony had received the Nebula Plague antidote well ahead of schedule, thanks to the Swift Justice's escort. Death rates were already declining. But that wasn't what had captured the attention of the galaxy. It was the humans' actions afterward. Commander Rivera and his crew hadn't simply dropped off the antidote and left. They'd stayed to help distribute it, with Engineering Officer Reyes and her team working around the clock to improve the colony's medical replication systems. The Prometheus's quantum stabilizer designs had been freely shared with Aetherian engineers, along with detailed notes about the emergency repairs. "Access additional incident reports," Trilgen requested. More holograms materialized around her, each showing similar stories that had emerged in the wake of the Starlight Healer event. A human mining vessel had diverted from a lucrative asteroid belt to rescue a stranded quantum-mined research probe. A small Earth medical ship had exhausted its fuel cells to maintain life support for a nebula-borne evolutionary study team. 3 different human crews had worked together to help a crystalline collective ship navigate a dangerous solar storm. "Your findings are quite compelling," a familiar harmonic voice said behind her. Trilgen turned to find Council Member Valdeth's quantum consciousness manifesting in the research wing. The ancient quantum mind's energy patterns shifted in what she recognized as deep contemplation. "Council Member," Trilgen's markings flickered respectfully. "I've been gathering evidence that contradicts Professor Nixval's assessment of human behavior. Their response to the Starlight Healer crisis wasn't an anomaly. It's part of a pattern. Indeed, Val-Eth's quantum matrix expanded slightly. The Council has received 742 similar reports in the past standard month alone. Each one describes humans going out of their way to assist other species, often at significant personal cost. Trilgen projected her research findings into the space between them. Their entertainment media, which Professor Nixval cited as evidence of xenophobic tendencies, actually shows something different. Yes, they imagine conflicts with alien species, but they also imagine friendship, cooperation, and mutual understanding. They dream of a united galaxy. And yet, Val-Eth's energy patterns shifted to indicate curiosity. They have no central authority controlling their actions, no unified directive governing their responses to other species. Each human ship, each crew, makes their own decisions. That's what makes it remarkable. Trilgen's markings pulsed with enthusiasm. They choose to help, not because of protocols or programming, but because they believe it's right. Look at this. She displayed footage from the Swift Justice's bridge during the Starlight Healer incident, the moment when Commander Rivera deleted the message from Earth Command without reading it. The crew's unanimous decision to miss their holiday celebrations to help complete strangers. Fascinating, Val-Eth observed. They disobeyed authority in order to help others. Our models didn't account for that possibility. There's more. Trilgen brought up her long-term observational data. Humans don't just help in emergencies. They're constantly reaching out, trying to understand other species, looking for ways to cooperate. The Prometheus's quantum stabilizer designs, they were based on studying ancient ruins. Humans take technology they find, improve it, and share it back. Val-Eth's quantum consciousness expanded further, encompassing more of Trilgen's displayed data. You believe Professor Nixval's conclusions were flawed. I believe they were incomplete. Trilgen corrected carefully. Yes, humans are individualistic. Yes, they sometimes defy authority. But those same traits drive them to innovate, to take risks to help others, to question whether something is truly impossible. She projected one final piece of data, a message from Commander Rivera to the Aetherian High Council, sent after the Starlight Healer reached Nova Centauri safely. Thank you for trusting us to help. We'd like to propose a joint emergency response initiative. Our ships might not be as advanced as yours, but we're good at improvising, and we're always ready to lend a hand. There's a human saying, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. We'd like the chance to prove that's true. Val-Eth's energy patterns shifted to a frequency Trilgen had never seen before, something between amusement and hope. Perhaps, the council member said, it's time for the Stellar Concordat to reconsider its position on human integration into galactic society. Would you be willing to present your findings to the full council? Trilgen's markings blazed with joy. It would be my honor. I believe understanding humans' true nature is crucial for our shared future. They don't just want to join galactic society. They want to help build it, improve it, make it better for everyone. As she began preparing her presentation, reports continued to stream in from across the galaxy. More stories of human ships going out of their way to help. More examples of human innovation being freely shared. More evidence that the galaxy's youngest spacefaring species might just have something extraordinary to teach its elders about the true meaning of civilization. A new understanding. The great chamber of the Stellar Concordat hummed with an energy unlike anything in its 1,000-year history. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization had gathered for what many were already calling a historic session. The crystalline architecture pulsed with the combined consciousness of hundreds of species, all focused on the presentation about to begin. Professor Nixval sat in the observation ring, her iridescent scales reflecting the chamber's shifting lights. She had requested to attend personally rather than submit a remote consciousness projection. After all, her reputation was at stake. Honored representatives. Council leader Val-Eth's quantum consciousness expanded to address the assembly. 3 standard months ago, This chamber heard warnings about the dangers of human integration into galactic society. Today, we gather to examine new evidence that may fundamentally change our understanding of humanity. The chamber's ambient lighting dimmed as junior researcher Trilgen took the presentation position. Her bioluminescent markings pulsed steadily, betraying none of the anxiety she felt facing the most powerful gathering in known space. "Esteemed Council," she began, "I come before you not to dispute Professor Nixval's observations about human nature, but to complete them. Yes, humans are individualistic. Yes, they often defy authority. Yes, they act on emotion rather than pure logic. But these traits manifest in ways our models fail to predict." She activated the first hologram, the Swift Justice Deleting Earth Command's non-interference directive, to help the Starlight Healer. Humans do defy authority, when that authority would prevent them from helping others. Another display, the Prometheus crew sharing their quantum stabilizer designs. They do act independently, often to innovate solutions that benefit everyone. The chamber filled with murmurs as Trilgen presented incident after incident, report after report. Human ships diverting from profitable missions to answer distress calls. Human engineers working without rest to repair alien vessels. Human medical teams treating other species without hesitation. But most remarkably, she continued, they do this without central coordination, without being ordered, without expectation of reward. They help because they believe it's right, because they see all sapient life as worthy of assistance. In the observation ring, Professor Nixval's scales shifted to patterns indicating deep thought. She had spent years studying human behavior, yet somehow missed this crucial aspect of their nature. We thought their emotional responses made them dangerous. Trilgen projected footage from various human rescues, but their emotions drive them to risk everything to save others. We saw their questioning of authority as a threat to order, but they question authority to ensure it serves the greater good. She displayed the latest statistics: 17 major joint rescue operations in the past month alone. 43 instances of humans sharing technological innovations, over 200 cases of human ships responding to distress calls from other species. And now, she said, they're proposing this. A new hologram materialized. Plans for an interspecies emergency response network. Human ships would work alongside vessels from every civilization, sharing techniques, technologies, and resources. They called it the Galactic Mutual Aid Initiative. Commander Rivera of the Swift Justice sent this message yesterday. Trilgen played the transmission. We may be the new kids in the galaxy, but we've learned a few things about helping each other. We'd like to share that knowledge and learn from all of you in return. Every species has something to teach and something to learn. Together, we can build a safer galaxy for everyone. The chamber erupted in discussion. The quantum minds pulsed with rapid calculations. The nebula-born swirled in patterns of consideration. The crystalline collective refracted light in frequencies of deep contemplation. Professor Nixval rose from her seat, her scales now showing patterns that hadn't been seen in the chamber for centuries, patterns of transformation. Council leader, her harmonic tones carried clearly through the chamber. I request permission to amend my previous assessment of human nature. The chamber fell silent. In my zeal to protect our carefully ordered society, I failed to see that sometimes chaos brings necessary change. Sometimes emotion leads to deeper wisdom than pure logic. Sometimes questioning authority leads to greater truth. She turned to face Trilgen. My research was thorough, but my conclusions were incomplete. Humanity doesn't threaten galactic civilization. It offers us a chance to evolve. Council leader Valeth's quantum consciousness expanded to encompass the entire chamber. The council recognizes both the original assessment and its amendment. The question before us now is clear. Do we continue to hold humanity at arm's length, or do we embrace their offered hand of friendship? One by one, representatives began to signal their positions. The quantum minds, after calculating every possibility, voted to approve greater human integration. The Nebula-born, seeing the potential for new forms of cooperation, added their support. The Crystalline Collective, traditionally the most conservative members, reflected light in patterns of agreement. When the final vote was tallied, the result was unprecedented: unanimous approval for full human integration into galactic society. Let it be recorded, Valith declared, that on this day, the Stellar Concordat recognized a fundamental truth. Civilization advances not just through order and logic, but through compassion, innovation, and the willingness to help others without counting the cost. Humanity has taught us this lesson. May we prove worthy students. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Trilgen's markings pulsed with joy. She sent a quick message to Commander Rivera. Remember when you said humans are good at improvising? You just helped us improvise a better galaxy. The response came back almost immediately. That's what friends do. Now, about that emergency response network. We got some ideas we'd love to share. Throughout the chamber, representatives began forming discussion groups, sharing stories of human assistance, proposing joint ventures. A new era of galactic cooperation was beginning, sparked by a species that had been deemed too chaotic, too emotional, too individualistic to join galactic society. They had been wrong about humanity, but in being wrong, they had learned something invaluable. Sometimes the greatest strength lies not in perfect order, but in the willingness to risk everything to help others. Sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the most sophisticated technology, but the one with the biggest heart. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, everyone now agreed, was a very good thing indeed.